Hey everybody, welcome back. We're coming to you live to close us out on week 4 of the PCS summer. Hey everybody, I'm Pyrotechnics back on the desk, and joining me, of course, is the wonderful Clement Chu. Before I say hello, before we get into all the action today, I'd like to take a moment to shout out our wonderful sponsor, CTBC Bank, for always being by our side and making the PCS possible, alongside the fine production folks that you see on the screen below too. They are, of course, Riot Games, Karen and Carry Live. Thank you all so very much. Now, Clement, how the heck are you, man?
I'm doing absolutely great. Yesterday, we had a great showing. There were so many upsets. There was a lot of close calls. And this is the type of PCS that I like, where anyone can beat anyone. And honestly, I was so surprised that we didn't have playoff lock-ins yesterday. I thought it was about time. We had our teams at 1 wins, and then PSG didn't win. Jewish team got a win, and things are still up in the air.
Yeah, you know, it's crazy to think, considering the majority of our teams make it into the playoffs, that we haven't had it happen. But I think it just goes to show how you could call it chaotic. You could also call it competitive. And I think both are objectively true. The league is this summer. It is definitely very exciting, definitely heating up. We've had some pretty impressive results. I think we're going to flash those ones up on the screen in just a moment, talk about them, break them down a little bit more. But yeah, some big surprises. I think PSG losing, that was definitely one of the ones that kind of took me by surprise, although their opponent, not so much. Deep Cross Gaming have pulled off probably the most consistent of, I have no idea what they're going to do on a given day.
Deep Cross, for me, they have understood how they want to play the game. They have a really strong mid-game, run-at-you, brawler type of strategy that has to be countered. You cannot play against this team going in with a slow and steady strategy. I feel like the same fate also befell Frank Esports as well, as they went way too late into the scaling portions and didn't have an early answer to Jewish team's tempo game and to their sort of crowd control composition. Things are really shaking up. The early game has to be something you participate in.
Absolutely. And I love the Jewish team, you know, on their side decided, all right, we're not winning the lanes. We're not going to be able to beat Frank in the late game. So screw that. We're just going to rush the objectives, and we have a team that can shred it down and catch him out. This is a team that has found a good strategy to at least find one more win on the board, and they, of course, will sit at 9th place above Sen 9. But up at the top, PSG, despite the loss, are still atop the table, and just below them, nipping at their heels, is the entire J-Team universe. CFO, DCG, and J-Team themselves, all tied at 8 and 3. Megabank Beyond Gaming not far off that, though. I feel like our top 5 are just so close.
And the big thing here today is that, well, Jewish team, you know, they're 7 wins away, which means that actually PSG have not actually fully secured a playoff slot just yet, which is, I think, is just mind-blowing. Very interesting to see this. Usually we had lock-ins as early as like the start of week 4 in our previous splits, but this split, a lot of teams are getting a lot closer. We saw the early game goal difference being a lot more compressed. It used to be like negative 5,000 teams, negative 4,000 teams, and positive 5,000 teams running around. Now the total difference between our best teams and our worst teams is within that 3,000 gold range, which I think makes the games so much more interesting. There's less blowouts, there's more competition.
Hey man, this ain't the LMS anymore. This is not just Flash Wolves or Bust or HQ, depending on the year. Things have changed. Even though PSG still sit atop, teams are definitely competing at the level. Really liking to see it, and I think some of these teams towards the bottom, they're going to be fighting it out for those final playoff spots. Of course, everything is still technically up in the air, as you said, and we'll have 2 more weeks to play before we finally get into that postseason. But I'm really excited for our squads all getting challenged, even at the top level. Does mean that they'll get some solid practice, and whoever we do end up sending off to the World Championships later this year, I think we'll be proud of them. They'll be having to earn their spot pretty hard.
I definitely look forward to when we're sending some different representatives. PSG is probably still going to be there, but I cannot fathom who's going to be Team 2.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's take a look at today's games. Let's rewind it back and look at our matchups. We're going to open up with Deep Cross Gaming versus Impunity. Then right after that, a brawl at the bottom of the table, Meta Falcon team and Jewish, which, based on last night's results, I think just got really spicy, Clement.
For sure, and I actually predicted that MFT might slide behind a Jewish team. Jewish team right now have a much clearer identity and a working strategy going into this one. Going further, we also have CFO and Megabank Beyond Gaming. Despite CFO always ending the split higher than Megabank Beyond Gaming, they haven't found a win in the Battle of the Banks just yet.
which is crazy, right? Like we look at CFO and we saw how dominant they were in the spring, but it's Megabank Beyond Gaming that always had their number. I guess they were just able to spend a little bit more. Who knows? Ranking up the gold difference or something. After that, of course, we have PSG taking on Sun 9. That's top versus bottom. We'll see how it all goes. And then Frank will close us out against J-Team. Frank struggling a little bit lately, especially with that loss, but J-Team, they're looking good. I feel like the story hasn't changed too much for that squad, and I just love that all of our J-Teams, for those of you not well acquainted, of course, Deep Cross and CFO, both, we could call them, I don't know, sister teams, unofficially, if you will. They have a lot of veterans. There's been a lot of J-Team talent that have migrated onto these squads, and they kind of retain those ties, so we consider them part of the same universe, or at least alternate universes, if you will.
I love how they actually branched out and have completely different styles here. That is something that is always really spicy to see. They aren't really clones of each other. You have the J-Team that's super early tempo. You have the 4-1 J-Team in CFO. And then you have the DCG that is just a mad dash in the mid-game objectives, which is super interesting. And to talk about DCG as they're coming up right here versus Impunity.
What timing?
Exactly. You know, I had some play-by-play practice yesterday, so.
Oh, you did. I'm liking it. I mean, well, do you mind if I pick this ball up? Because
no
we got
problem.
Leaky Hana, Nesty, Chris Scotta, and Woody. I really love this team's identity. They came in last spring as a squad that always had a plan, and it was hard for you to figure it out. They were the masterminds, if you will, the galaxy brains. Nesty, of course, with a very unique champion pool, has found a very good niche in this meta on roaming champions. We've seen him on scalers and champions that can impact the map. Seraphine, Talia, his Swain is also really good. He's, of course, even picked up the Corki. And I think this team really plays well around that ability. The mid game is good. Hana's a great facilitator. And they've got hyper carries in the top and bottom. Leaky and Criscata are solid.
This is one of those teams that has the greatest definition in what each role is going to do. Nesty, I think, is the linchpin to the entire team. His Talia right now, 100% win rate, 13 KDA, considered basically a must ban by all of his opponents. And then he has similar champions that can fill the role, like the Galio and the Swain that we were talking about. So a lot of different angles that can achieve the same thing, which is basically a run at you comp, a wombo composition that excels at the mid game.
Yeah, well, if there's a team that we have a harder time understanding, I think it would be Impunity. They have changed their roster so many times, but hey, ding, 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 they've found themselves where they hope to be a jackpot, Clement, because they've stuck with the same roster for 2 days. It hasn't happened in weeks. Jackpot up at the top, Alex in the jungle, Apex in mid, and then LZ and Winnie rounding it out. Now, I feel like this team has a hard time with not just what it wants to do in terms of its player choices, but also what it wants to do on the Rift.
Yeah, that's, we'll have to be honest. We're not exactly sure where this Impunity roster is going to land. They have a 10-man roster, and this is the first time that they have ran consecutive, the same roster back to back. That's just insane to think about. We're 4 weeks into the regular season, and it's the first time they're running the same 5 guys. If we had to look at it, I would say that this version of Impunity should revolve around their Korean import in Jackpot. He has been given almost always given the counter pick and allowed to win his matchup and play for that main carry, but he has to prove that he actually deserves the resources sunk into his role. I'm not so sure that I've seen proofs of it so far, but we'll see if he can work the Jax, if he can work the Gwen against more of a tank player like Leaky.
Yeah, I mean, Leaky definitely was, he kind of made his bones last split on those hyper carries, or on rather the more scaling champions. He still pulls out things like the Gangplank. His Mordekaiser has been quite fearsome as well, but he's shifted more towards a tanky playstyle, more of an engaged playstyle if he can. The Nars come up big for him, so has the Sejuani. It seems like that's the role that he's been occupying more because you have so many threats across the map. And we'll see if that stays the same today as we get into picks and bans. Already Deep Cross opting to take away the Aurelia and the Corki, so they are paying some respects towards Jackpot in that top side.
For sure, and I think this Aurelia is a pretty clear takeaway that DCG might be opting into that Gnar. Gnar still our most successful champion in the PCS, currently sitting at 74% win rate the last time I checked. That was just yesterday. So incredibly powerful. I think DCG are going to stick to, blindside Leaky, just play your tank role. Meanwhile, in Impunity, love the bans as well. They know the Gnar's coming up, and they don't want to see the Thalia. So I think DCG most likely going to aim for one of their bot lane angles. This is how they like to play through. It's basically roam Nesty and Hana into the bot lane, create havoc, and then turn towards the Drake.
Yeah, and Woody has been kind of proving himself as just an incredible support this split. He works so well with Criscata specifically, and he's also he was one of our pioneers of Renata Glass, one of the ones that really picked it up early and made it work as a good counter engage for Impunity's bottom side. They're going to grab the Callista. That is a takeaway, as that is a pairing that Criscata likes to pull. Does give them a lot of a threat on objectives. I want to see what they pair it with here. Definitely toying with the jungle choice. Alex has not actually played Lee Sin yet this split. The Wukong gets locked in. We're still on patch 12.12, keep in mind.
We have been seeing a sort of drop in Wukong's potential right here. He really does need a bit of a snowball to have the same sort of impact that I would say he kind of just enjoyed by default in previous splits. There are much stronger earlier game junglers we have seen popping up, and Poppy also just takes Wukong down quite a big notch. As we see DCG already opting into the champion, she can counter Wukong's engage with the Nimbus Cloud very well, and you do set yourself up for a very smooth transition into sort of that late game style where you have a tank and also a disengage option in your jungler role, which is so rare to see.
I love how fast Deep Cross are coming out with their picks. It kind of just shows the confidence. They know exactly what they want, and you're hitting those points perfectly, that they get themselves the late game of Aphelios. Sure, you take away the Callista, that's fine. Impunity are going to go for a strategy that has been rising in prominence for a few patches now. You get the Amumu paired with the Callista, so you can kind of just like yo-yo the Fate's Call and the Bandage Toss if you really want it. It's great engage. It does feel like they might need a little bit more AoE damage threat, though.
I do like this from Impunity. They are trying to fight fire with fire, which is contest the mid-game Drake fight that DCG does a lot. I wouldn't say DCG necessarily the best late game sort of scaling team composition, so they are going to put DCG on trial to see if they can actually branch out into a different style of play here. For Impunity, I would almost say that Impunity are running the DCG draft right in front of them.
I love this. They've taken the notes and like, all right, we're gonna present our homework first and just pretend it came from us. They take the Swain away. Also, the Seraphine was banned out by Deep Cross. It's like all of a sudden Nesty's champion pool, which is an ocean of strangeness, has been cut down.
And I wonder if he's going to go for the standard answers here. Usually you're going to look at something like an Azir and just say, well, we're going late game. I want something with prio early that's relatively safe. So you usually pick something like the Azir, but that isn't really Nesty's style. So he's going to give us a Wabo combo. We are going to get a mid-game showdown.
Okay, so that Yone is exciting, but I do want to point out, Nesty has played Gragas mid already this split. I wonder if that's the leaky Yone.
Ooh, I don't really think so, but no, it's certainly a possibility. I would say something like a Yone, it requires a lot of snowballing, and I just think it's a little bit better suited in the mid game, in the mid lane, where you can join those Drake team fights without, expending very awkward teleports or leaving the lane. So I still expect it to go mid. And, I want to correct myself from yesterday is that we have been seeing a lot of semi-tank builds coming from the Yone as well. With the Blade of the Ruined King, we saw Sunfire just being built yesterday. From Gori's Yone. So there's a lot of different ways to kind of change and shift up the profile. I still expect if it gets a good start, you're probably still going to see the crit build come out though.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk all day about how it's really about a lot of like roaming and not always winning the lane for Nesty, but he's a competent player. He can make it happen. I think it is going to be on Apex to try and put him on the back foot, but I love what they did here. The Swain, he's going to have a bit of scaling threat. He's going to have some solid team fighting presence. I am so excited to see what Impunity can do with this lineup because, they have struggled, but I really like their draft. I think they gave themselves a great setup. It's pretty sustainable or sustainful, if you will. And if they lock down a single target, I mean, they can delete them.
The best thing about this one is that it doesn't require as much execution. I felt like Impunity trying to run a 4-1 strategy in the past was just way beyond their execution level, their communication level. Remember, these players are not speaking on the same language. So just having a composition where it's everyone hits the go button at the same time, we burst whoever we CC, I think it's the easier path to go for a new team like that.
Absolutely. Try to keep it simple, and that can net you some game wins and potentially some big upsets. Keep in mind, Deep Cross currently in second place, tied with all the other J-teamers, if you will, at 8-3, and Impunity down at the bottom, 3-8 on a 5-game losing streak, hoping to snap it today against a team that just beat PSG Talon last night.
Yeah, incredible stuff from DCG. Again, I feel like we are seeing the meta shift a little bit. Pure late game, the Azirs, the Corkis actually haven't been all that common in the PCS. It's harder to just sit back and scale to your power spikes these days, with a lot of teams trying to go against the grain and punish you based off of that fact.
Oh yeah, they'll challenge you 100% of the time. I do like this. I always wonder when I see the teams getting more and more aggressive, like, all right, are we letting the LPL seep in a little bit? You guys scrimming with those teams a little more? And I think it does make our squads a little better for it. So we'll see if that's the case. Starting us off, we do take a look, of course, at our summoner choices. Nesty with that Ignite, or Apex with the Unsealed Spellbook, starting off with Teleport. So there's an inherent teleport advantage for Impunity, but in early game, that's not going to make too big a difference.
Well, we will see how this Yone fares. So far, we just have not seen the Yone been successful in the PCS. It really requires a bit more of a, I would say, mid-game snowball of some sort for you to actually have the damage to kind of make yourself worth it. That's always kind of the problem with your with playing as this AD carries in the front line. It's usually does have a bit of a feast or famine impact. But this time around, we are going to see, I think, DCG have a lot of interesting tools they can play with. Both the Gragas and the Poppy can create those situations where you just have opportunities to get a 5v4 or even a 5v3 going down.
Yeah, it's double disengage, right? You can force people away from the fight, whether or not you want to get out yourself or whether you want to try and give yourself a numbers advantage. It also really works well against the Wukong, as you mentioned in picks and bans. Like, that Cyclone, it was huge, but then all of a sudden a Poppy comes in and tosses you out of the fight. You're CCing exactly nobody. You know, Swain comes in, tries to take you down, like, yeah, he's out of there. Like, Deep Cross really found a good neutralizer, and I'm curious to see how it works out. Worth noting, though, the cleanse burned early on Kriskata due to that Vantage Toss play from Winnie. Hana going in and finding Alex on his blue buff, gets the smite down, though, so he doesn't lose any pressure for it. Nicely done.
Hana just trying to protect his pushing bot lane. We have seen this done quite a bit. DCG, very much like J2, does like to play around Kriskata early on, but here we get the 3v3.
Yeah, oh, Woody's already very low, though. Ren stacks there are forced to burn it away. Kriskata playing 1v2 on the back. Alex should be able to finish that fight up. We don't have first blood just yet, but there it goes. Secured up by Impunity. Hana looking to try and delete somebody, but he's all of a sudden 1v3. That's 2 kills, and LZ gets one of them. Hana can throw his weight around with his health bar, but he doesn't have kill threat.
Ooh, that was such a good play coming in on the side of Impunity. They actually managed to arrive before Hana. We saw that scuffle in the jungle, but Alex was able to cut across the lane here, arrive on the scene first, and then just wreak havoc. So I think the most important thing is definitely just checking out Wukong's position as he gets here. Uses the clone to get across the wall and just get in distance for the first kill. Actually zones Hana away from the fight. And meanwhile, the 2-man that were expecting earlier jungle pressure gets caught off guard. Winnie gets both bandage tosses, and that's a huge start for Impunity.
Yeah, Winnie did a great job in that. I think Hana really misread it, right? Like, he tries to go in and save. He ends up opting to try and save Kriskata, but but Woody, but like, I think he was kind of already dead on that one. So Ignite burn, Flash burned on the support side. Yeah, LZ burns his summoners too. But it works out great. Early start, Impunity, they have the gold lead, and, you know, it's in some of the carries.
And this is going to give a really strong power spike over to Impunity. I actually think Winnie will be... oh, actually, he's down a level. I was thinking that maybe he would be able to be accelerated in his experience and hit that curse of the Sad Mummy a little bit faster. But we will see if DCG try to punish this one. They know that some of the summoners may be down, and they are looking to punish this one. It doesn't look like Winnie will take the bait, though.
Yeah, LZ and Winnie are playing back a little bit. Kriskata Woody really tried to go for the bamboozle. I think the Poppy, if you want to go for a gank, I kind of feel like you need a bit of a wrap around the side. You really want to play around the walls, and lane gank doesn't work as well. And I think Hana's fixating a little bit. This is giving Alex a lot of free time on the map.
If you look at Winnie, but they found
Boom! Patience pays off, Clement. We thought it wasn't working, but they got a little bit too confident that they would be fine, and it was an instant flash into charge. Blink and you miss it. Nicely picked up by Deep Cross Gaming.
Well done, well done. They know that both summoners are down here on LZ, just instant engage to find the turnaround kill. And I like this from DCG. I feel like they understand the way they play very well, which is they are a hard focus bot lane team. You rarely see Hana go up to top lane to help Leaky in this season. He's usually just left to his own devices. You play a blind pick, and you try to keep safe. That's Leaky's job right here. But they need bot lane to win because they need somewhere for Hana and then Nesty to roam. And one thing I will add is that Nesty and Hana are a great diving duo. These guys can just wallbang you, and then Nesty can also de-aggro himself by just jumping back to his own shadow. So I feel like the game plan is still going to be the same for DCG despite the early mishaps. They're still going to be looking for that 4v2 in the bot side that they're so patented for.
Absolutely. So with that kill back, it does start to even the gold game up, but Impunity do have a timing window that they use to get themselves first dragon. It was that Mountain Drake. Ooh. Taking a look up top too, where Leaky has had a pretty solid job of the farm game up against the side of Jackpot. Hasn't really been able to match him quite on that, but he should be able to get at least a few minions back for himself as he clears the wave. Mid lane, not really anything happening there, but honestly, even though we saw these champion picks, we got really excited. It is kind of the way in most Nesty lanes. It's going to just be a little bit of health bar trades. The kill threat usually doesn't focus on trying to crush his opposition.
For sure. This is the Nesty style 100%. He just usually stays even in lane and looks for opportunities to leave and roam and find more kills here. I will say in the top lane, I feel like Leaky's been doing a really good job. We just saw a trade where he uses the superior hitbox of Body Slam to cancel out the Q, the Northern Assault, coming in from the Sejuani. Blocks out a lot of damage right here. He also has sort of the harass edge in this matchup earlier on. Of course, Jackpot is going to be a lot tankier when it comes into the mid-late game. But in terms of the laning phase, Leaky definitely doing a great job.
Yeah, I think this is one of the reasons you're seeing him on these tank champions. But also he still, as you mentioned, has damage. Goes for a little bit more of the AP build as Nesty goes in, knowing Hana's at his back. Can't quite get the kill as the flash is burned on both sides. Excuse me, no, Apex does not burn his. Nesty puts all of his summoners into the outplay, and Hana couldn't quite close the distance.
Yeah, a little bit of a miscommunication right there. I don't think it was worth it necessarily, and it could have gone pretty bad if they went all in. Alex was there with Cyclone, just waiting on the wings. Let's see if he finds Hana here. They're just around the corner.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
Oh.
Nobody knows. Oh, now he's got to know.
Yep.
Wow. Talk about ships in the night, huh?
Now, Sweeper goes down, so Winnie definitely knows that Hana is just around the corner, and of course, Hana just has vision here. The key to these fights early on usually is who can hit level 6 on the support a little bit earlier. And we do have Nesty here, Woody here, hitting level 6 already, while Winnie is still level 5, so DCG are going in super aggressive, knowing that they have the ultimate advantage.
Yeah, looking for the Herald fight here. Oof. Alright, Sauron goes up for just a second, chases him off, separates. I think Deep Cross realizes it's getting a little hot, so they don't opt to play for it. But nobody is really pushing anywhere else on the map because Impunity brought their whole team up too, so there really isn't a wave difference that they have to worry about.
I really think DCG should hard commit to this. Look at Winnie. He is so far away from level 6. He's not going to have that Curse of the Sad Mummy anytime soon, but wow, DCG, even with the ult advantage, they're the ones to give this one up. I actually feel like that's a bit of a timid play coming in from them.
Yeah, maybe they just didn't feel confident because Nesty doesn't have any summoners right now, but I agree. They had the inside track. They give up the pressure. They choose to back instead, which means that it is freely takeable by Impunity. So first Dragon and first Herald now going that way. Criscata gets back to lane a little faster, so maybe they get a little damage, but they're not really going to be able to pick a plate up early.
It's not really like DCG to back out of something like that. They're usually very aggressive when it comes to the early neutral objectives. We will see what they decide to do with it. Maybe it's an attempt to get a tempo play into the bot side. We've talked about tower diving potential, and I also want to add, besides to Nesty and Hana, Renata is also very good in these tower dives. You throw her
Right.
ultimate off, and the lane is so close, it's so narrow that you can basically hit everyone underneath tower.
Yeah, and I think Impunity are going to have to use that hard CC they had to try and keep Woody locked down until they can make the play. They do not want to go face first into the hostile takeover, but DCG letting themselves back off a little bit. They did get 2 plates off the back, so it wasn't all for nothing. I see the Chakram start flying pretty fast, and Criscata was able to get the job done with the minion wave before LZ and Winnie could arrive.
And you can tell where DCG are setting their sights on. That bottom lane is completely littered in wards. They can see wherever Wukong is coming through. They can see the Swain as well. So it's gonna be hard for Impunity, I think, to find a clean play anywhere on the map. I don't think they're really gonna go ganking for Sejuani anytime soon. So it's like everything they do now is in complete vision of DCG.
Uh-oh. Here comes the flank. Alex not spotted in vision. Oh, they know something is up though.
They know he crossed
the
into the
backs
river.
away. Yeah. Okay. Playing it safe. So, you know, game slows a little bit, but not for lack of trying. We've got a 5, maybe 600 gold difference here in favor of Deep Cross, despite the kill advantage. Impunity, they're looking for something on the map. They might have to settle for a neutral objective. So far, they got 100%. So not a bad start for this team, and you know it's not bad on the scaling factor either.
This is one of Impunity's biggest issues when they first came in. It's just that their bot lane could not play a lane to save their life. They had probably the worst gold difference there, but this time around, you know, they have a strong combo. They have enough focus here, and we do have Impunity spotting the 3-man coming up towards the top lane. Jackbot just going to easily walk out of that one.
Yeah, I love how Impunity are actually reading the map at the moment. Like, they're not able to get, like, huge, like, plays, dives going on. Deep Cross are a little bit too cautious for that, but they can throw the weight around for these objectives. Jackpot playing safe, that's very important. Apex has done just fine in this lane. I think the takeaway, this Swain pick, threw Nesty a little bit for a loop. I mean, this Yone, it's still going to have a lot of impact if he can, but I don't know, man. It does feel a little bit different than what we were expecting. And also, first Mythic completed in the mid lane ends up being Apex as the Imperial Mandate comes out.
Yeah, I actually feel like the mid game definitely does favor Impunity just a little bit. For DCG, before they get most of their offensive items online, it's actually very difficult for them to burst down single targets. The Swain with the Demon Flare is going to be you know, very steady for a long time. A lot of it is about target selection.
Oh, wait a minute. We got fights on 2 fronts right now. It's Impunity that already lose a couple people down to the bottom, but Nesty, meanwhile,
gonna win bot.
getting the outplay. Oh, flashing forward, looking for Alex. So Impunity, they lose on both sides. That's actually pretty solid as Deep Cross start to turn.
Oh, huge loss here for Impunity because they actually lose both trades in top and the bottom. It was a 3-for-1 in total, and the biggest difference is Nesty roaming first before Apex could do anything.
Yeah, Apex really tries to play the knockup there, but Alex will be coming for a second wind effort in the demon form. That Swain so hard to kill, and they will get the disengage, plus the Shelly charge already going through here just before 14 minutes. I think he got the plates off. So yeah, Deep Cross, a lot of movement on the map, a lot of things to break down in the last minute or two there, Clement. Let's take a look at what happened up top, because we were watching and our eyes were split between top and bottom.
This was the repeat gank from Nesty. Comes in and gets the 2-man on the ultimate to start that one off with the extra crowd control and damage. That was just a guaranteed win for the top side. And also the bot side, what I saw was Woody was the first one to get bursted down, but it seemed like they used most of their damage, and LZ was simply chased down by Criscata, and so was Winnie afterwards. So they bursted the support, but Criscata had enough firepower to then come back and win the fight for DCG.
And that doesn't surprise me in the least. Criscata, definitely a player we had to keep our eyes on, was incredible debut in the spring split. In fact, probably would have been the best AD carry performer and one of the top rookies, if not for somebody named Shun, who came in right at the end and took it all away from him. But Criscata looking really good on this Aphelios. 3 kills, an item and a half. Now he had his Gale Force as of a few minutes ago. So he's about a half item up on the Callista, and if you're Deep Cross, you got to be feeling good about where your gold is going.
Yeah, this is pretty dangerous for anyone going up against them, and it just means that Deep Cross Gaming can move Aphelios to any lane in the map and just be guaranteed to get chip damage off here. He's way too fed. He has a Gale Force. He's incredibly safe. And I also like his itemization here. You know, not going for the Bloodthirster second, but going for the Armor Pen. He knows that mid-game is a little difficult to deal with. Wukong with that armor stacking. Jackpot with the Frozen Armor. I think those targets are way too hard to kill if you are going for a more standard Aphelios build. So I like this adaptation for him. It's going to give DCG much more of a fighting chance in the mid-game.
Certainly the case. So, with those two fights, those two skirmishes on the top and the bottom, tables turn a little bit here as Impunity. They had what looked to be a solid mid-game for them, but Nesty, he's been unleashed on this side lane. You can see that Apex goes golden 5 at a time and actually keeps himself alive here.
Impunity
Meanwhile,
coming in
Hana caught
first.
out, does get the knockup, but whoa, Impunity, they brought way more friends to the party, and they actually do get the stun off, but Jackpot gets ping-ponged around, doesn't mind at all because they jump on a Leaky Winnie. Takes a little too much damage because Criscata has opened fire. LZ stopped for just a second on the tip of the hostile takeover, and what an extended chase we've got here. Nesty will not give up. Fadeaway taps into Woody getting the kill. And as the dust is not yet settled, Clement, it's a 2-for-1 trade. And we'll see if we get any more. What a scrappy game this has already been.
Impunity won their first one, but no, the
Oh,
handshake!
the handshake! Apex tries for the cheeky back, doesn't get it.
Nessie
Nessie
dies,
to fight
though.
the big one. I mean, that shutdown goal, but still, Deep Cross are accelerating.
Yeah, that was a fight where Impunity actually won the initial trade, but on the backside, I felt like they underestimated Criscata's damage. This guy is coming in with 3 kills, and as we just saw, he bursted down Winnie with 1 auto attack and just a skill combo. So the fight starts off with Nesty finding a great ultimate on the side of Apex, but unfortunately for Hana, he misjudges how many members are actually here from Impunity. They get the jungle pickup quite easily. This one doesn't work well, but look at Criscata right here. 1 auto attack, 2 auto attack, skills go down, and pop goes Winnie. That was pretty impressive. LZ has to run for the hills as we see Criscata chasing forward with the bailout on him as well, giving him that extra movement speed.
That's how you frontline AD carry. He pops the Gale Force, he gets the bailout preemptively, and it's just like, I cannot die. Now the Baron, or rather the Dragon, going to be truly contested here. Nesty around the side. Watch for that one as they catch Winnie off. Just a second, gets the ultimate off and bursts him down before he can get anything done. Did not have Curse of the Sad Mummy yet for a couple more seconds, so Deep Cross not only cut him down to size, but they cut Impunity's Drake stack.
I think Winnie needs to be a lot more careful in these situations. Yes, he technically is a tank support, but he's not surviving any face check at this point in the game. So I really want them to see them move around the map a bit smarter, have Jackpot in the front line. He has the Iceborne Gauntlet and the defense. That was blind. Okay,
Yeah.
that was lucky.
Yeah, he just had to guess that one. It's like, all right, there may be a Wukong around the corner. I'm just going to pop the Poppycopter. Great work. Deep Cross Gaming hashtag calculated as they extend the gold lead to about 5,000. Not bad for 19 minutes into this game. And Impunity, all the advantages they accrued, they've gone the other way.
Yeah, we really need to see Impunity use this composition with a bit more cohesion. They have the Wombo combo, but it needs to go on the right pieces. Last time they used everything on Hana, it didn't work out in the end for them, and in the previous fight they just got caught out. Now they have everything online, but we need to see them hold their ultimates and use it on Criscata. That is the make or break point.
Man, last second Rift Herald right now as they may sacrifice Apex for it. No, immediately turning onto the fight, and oh boy, gonna be stop up on a great hostile takeover, and even sandwich between Shelly here as Apex is trying to survive inside. They lose Winnie as Woody takes him out of this one, and Impunity, they get a little bit of the outplay on the split of the fight, but it's a 2-for-2 trade. I didn't even see who got Herald in that one. LZ gonna try and grab something, but he knows his days are numbered, trying to hop, skip, jump, looking for the Ren stacks, and whoa, Leaky bites it in the 1-for-1. What a trade across the map for Criscata wins. What's going on with Shelly here? Got popped, I think, by Woody?
Huh?
Did he claim it?
That was definitely a mistake.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck just happened, but this has been absolute chaos.
Yeah, I liked Impunity's start to the fight there. They did have Alex on top of Criscata right at the beginning, but what a wonderful ultimate coming in from Woody. He catches 3 people in the hostile takeover. The backline is busy hitting themselves, and then Wukong dies again. I don't think Woody has gotten a single great ultimate this time around. Let's watch the start of this. The most important thing, Alex going on Criscata right at the beginning, but Hana with the steadfast presence to block everyone from coming in. See the hostile takeover just going into the back line here. And yeah, I think you can see the Herald definitely went over to the side of DCG, but unfortunately for them, they probably didn't notice it and popped it a little bit preemptively. LZ gets a good trade. Leaky chased him down with 70% HP and still lost his life.
Okay, I feel like Woody, like, yeah, I think he accidentally picked it up. I think he tried to ward and dropped the Herald and was like, oh. That's okay. I mean, the Herald was basically free, right? Like you came in there, you basically stole Impunity's lunch money, and then just, yeah, sure, why not?
It's
not
fine.
Optimal. It's a bit chaotic, but it's a 6,000 gold leader just under right now, and it's starting to grow. Nesty is caught a little isolated, but yeah, you know, he's fine. He's an accelerated Yone at this point. And, you know, we don't often get to see, like, hard carry, assassin-y kind of Nesty, but I'm liking the new look.
Yeah, and honestly, he doesn't even need to be the main damage dealer here, just because Criscata is 5-1 and 2. So they just need someone that has to be focused down in the front line that is a nuisance to deal with. He's going to draw a lot of firepower away, and he's also going to survive for a fair bit as we see him going for the tank item Mythic in the second build here as well. So the name of the game is actually how Impunity can take out Criscata first. We have to remember that Criscata is running without any summoners right now. So the next Infernal fight, there is a reasonable chance that Impunity can find the flank, they can find the back line, but if they don't succeed, DCG are just going to wipe the floor with them.
Yeah, Bailout and Gale Force are going to be pretty instrumental for Criscata if that fight does go off his plan. But I do want to shout you out, Clement. You talked about this Sunfire Aegis, the more bruisery build, and lo and behold, yeah, Nesty gone for it along with Play the Rune King, and has certainly made himself quite a target. I love that Yone can do this because you go in, you basically force the enemy to focus you because you get in their faces, and then you just, like, you know, pop yourself back. It's like you got your own Callista.
It is so annoying to deal with the Yone, and he just forces distance, and you can use that distance to cover Criscata, which is the most important thing. So, taking a look at Impunity here, a couple key things to point out is that they don't actually have any flashes on the side of most of their engage options. So, I kind of struggle to see how they're going to find a good engage on Criscata. Criscata already has his cleanse here, and it just looks like DCG are going to push the wave here for someone to defend. That was a bit odd from Nesty, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't into a Callista. I think they're buying time. The Poppy ult is going to be stuffed for just a second. They need to be able to secure this, though. The barrel just come, knock him away. They're not going to be able to get the rend off, and trying to steal it, they do. Deep Cross, take it right away. The fight is on. Apex trying to buy a little time, but gets bursted. Nonetheless, Alex, ultimates for nothing here, and LZ's caught off on the side, gets wallbanged, immediately tries to cleanse him, but instead, fast presence keeps him locked up, and Criscata just knocks him down. It's all Deep Cross across the map, Clement. They claim the dragon in 2 kills.
I don't think Impunity can just fight the way that they did. They had no backline threat against Criscata. Criscata right now is way too fed. You have to deal with them in these fights. And if you're Impunity side, it has to be a turn. I feel like the way they should have handled that trade is just you rush it down and you run. Like, you actually sacrifice Winnie preemptively. You have him burn the Curse of the Sad Mummy, and you just take the objective and just run for the hills. And now Alex has to go for the Baron Steel, but he's way too late.
Already too bad. This is going to be going low, down to 3,000 hit points. Alex taken out of this. They won't even have the smite to be able to fight at this point. Deep Cross bases. You can see it gets stolen away by Apex. Are you kidding me? But Deep Cross are going to make them pay for it nonetheless. A 1-for-2 turn. Jackpot is going to go down for 3, so Deep Cross do get the kills, but Impunity, ding, ding, ding on the objective steal.
You always forget about the unsealed spellbook mid laner. I'm not sure if he swapped to smite right there, but what a heroic play from Apex to draw this game out. Now Winnie is coming here and looking for the kill.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Whoa, that's close. I'm gonna make a prediction here. I think he just queued. I think he just had a really good queue.
I think it was just like a WQ combo. We'll see if he actually brought this.
Oh, we're not gonna.
Oh,
okay, we gotta see this replay. This is a while ago. This game is going so fast right now. Yeah, LZ never had a chance. He went straight into the hostile takeover. Like, there's so much distance that you can make. Like that Ren secure is not secure.
Yeah, I feel like they were, you know, Nesty really does such a good job at cutting off the retreat path here. So what he did was he knew that Impunity were just trying to rush the objective and go away, probably sacrifice like 2 members to stay there, and he stood on the ramp with his shadow, which made Impunity actually take the route towards the south. They had no way to get out of that situation. DCG manages a couple chase down kills, and that's where we saw the Baron shenanigans. Here comes Hana.
What? Okay, I love that. When he gets caught, gets yoinked back in by the face call. Immediately they throw him back out. Doesn't really matter too much. Oh, the barrel, no. It's going to knock the wrong Wukong. So, couple of ultimates burn. Nothing really for Deep Cross to get on the map. And with the Baron denial, Impunity do buy some time for themselves in this one. Keep in mind, they do still have the 2 Drakes, but you're right. They are still very behind this game. They need to deal with Criscata because he is very quickly approaching however many hundreds of years Aphelios has in his game design.
Yeah, that's 3-item Criscata on the way right here. I really need to see Impunity actually try to do flanks here. I don't think they're going to win the standard front to back anytime soon. It has to be fast, it has to be violent, and it has to be a surprise. So we'll see how DCG handle this, but so far in this 1-3-1 setup, they definitely will give some opportunities for Impunity to go at this. I want to see Impunities sack one of their lanes to go for a big play mid.
Yes, I think they need to try and take a little bit of a Trixie Leaf out of the Jewish team playbook, right? Because they struggled a little bit there. It's going to be Apex getting taken so low, but denies the kill. And hits Nesty with the HQ. Yeah, where I was trying to go with that was they need to try and like make some plays across the map and draw Deep Cross away from what they want to do, which is pushing on these lanes and contesting on the objectives. I think Impunity do have good turn and burn. They can take this dragon, but they have to do it quick.
For sure, and it really is about the lane setup here. I feel like if you let DCG just out-trade you in the side lanes and take away your ultimates like that, then you know, it makes it so much harder to actually find a play in the mid. DCG's chances are significantly higher once they are grouped up here. Impunity probably finally trying to go in. Let's see if they can find the target. Criscata gets found.
Gets the curse to the sound mummy. Criscata, he's going to go golden for just a second, but they think they've got him caught even with the Poppy ejecting him out. They can delete him. No, the bail out there. Finally, they take him down, but at what cost? They lose Winnie, they lose LZ, but Apex is still up. It is a trade of bot lanes, and I think if you're Impunity, you take that.
That was totally worth for them. I honestly felt like DCG got a little bit greedy on that play. None of their solo laners were actually in the vicinity, and they still wanted to face check the Drake. So good punish here by Impunity. This is exactly what they need to do. Sometimes when you're playing against 1-3-1, you have to sack one of these side lanes, and you have to group up to make the plays.
They do see the dragon over, unfortunately, though, so this will be Deep Cross securing themselves Infernal number 3. That's quite a lot of firepower, and it is going to be Soul Point. Late in the game, though, keep in mind, it's just about 29 minutes. Let's take a look at the replay. Winnie, you just said it, Clement. They needed the flank, and yeah, there we go. I was like, wait a minute, does he have an ult? Yeah, he does. It was just a little bit of a spectator bug.
They have the double angle here. They also have the Vision of Empire. And this was still relatively close. If they found that takedown, it was Criscata back to 20% HP and continuing to wail on the side of Impunity. So, best case scenario, captured by Impunity, but you can still see how difficult it was.
They're going to have a heck of a time fighting out against this. Still down about 6,000 gold. Nesty going forward. Never move. Gets out of the Vision Empire. Here comes the TP, though. They're going to look to sandwich Apex, Alex, and Winnie.
They got nowhere to go.
There is no help from LZ coming anytime soon. The flash away. They look to try and move him in. Actually, a good flash away. I think they end up sacking on this one. Oh, no, Alex. He is out of there. And with the TP spent, that's going to be the redirect. Winnie is lost, but they will not get any more on the Deep Cross side.
A bit of a wasted TP coming in from Jackpot. If you look at the timers, Baron's actually not in threat here. So... Yeah, a little bit unfortunate for Impunity. Great catch from DCG. They see the bottom lane pushing out. They know that Jackpot's going to stay there. They just go for a very, very long cross map take. And
double bop. Wow. Just finds Alex there. Got a little bamboozled myself. Yeah, like there's no ultimate threat yet. I mean, Apex doesn't have Demonic Ascension back, so that tower's free. Here comes the reset. I think the big fight's going to be on that Baron coming up in 10 seconds.
And Impunity, you know, aside from the flank, they do have the potential to just catch people out who are setting out vision, who are a little bit more spread out. The Vision of Empire plus the Imperial Mandate is a great way to just move in on targets. They also have the Fate's Call, so I just want to see Impunity grouped up and try to dance around the periphery of DCG. If they can find a pick, they can change the calculus of this fight.
They're going to try for it. However, they immediately move away from the position. I think Deep Cross knew they were there as well, so they get some vision down on the Baron. The dance begins. Waves are pushed in bot, smaller up on the top, but they will hold the line mid here. And keep your eyes on the ultimates. They are just about all up for everybody. Going to be incredibly important. Winnie wants a flank, so does Jackpot. Finds Nesty here. I don't think that's what he wanted. Gets ulted, isolated, but gets out without too many scratches. He's going to have to heal up a little bit, though, before he gets back into the action.
And I like the way what Impunity are doing. You know, they're just sort of dancing around DCG, trying to see if there's any opportunistic chances. And one thing I will say about DCG's comps is they do have a fair amount of members that can be bursted down quite easily. You have Woody and Leaky, who's not really all that tanky. So it's definitely possible that Impunity could just find a one pick here, but DCG are going to strike first.
All right, let's see if they can get into this one. No, they get a little zoned out. Alex and Apex can't actually get involved.
Grabbing him down.
Not only do they lose Winnie, but I think Jackpot's going down too. Meanwhile, Apex is trying to buy himself a bit of time, but they never had a chance to get this fight off the ground. Demonic Ascension will not mean a thing, and Deep Cross just deletes 3 members of Impunity. I think they're going for the win here.
Yeah, 45 seconds on Apex. He's not going to be reviving in time, and let's see if they have enough damage here. Only LZ and Alex are really packing any punch. I don't think they can do it.
They'll have a little bit of an extra life, but I don't think they have the damage to do it. LZ, I don't even know where he's going at this point. This game looks to be just about over.
The fountain.
The fountain is Alex in the middle of his own Cyclone. They've got maybe one last chance to do it. That Nexus turret is going to fall. Deep Cross is moving forward. Hostile takeover, and they will be doing a takeover of Impunity's base with only Alex left. No more ults remaining. That is going to be it. GG Impunity suffer another loss in Deep Cross. Well, they had a fight on their hands, but they certainly win it to claim victory here at the end of week 4.
Oh boy, DCG continue to hold on to that second slot position in the PCS, while Impunity, despite stabilizing their roster, they go on the 6th consecutive loss so far. This is I feel like this was a pretty well drafted game for Impunity. They had a clear game plan, but unfortunately the teamfight execution went in the way of DCG. They were persistent on getting Cruscata ahead. They made sure that they always kept him safe in all of these team fights. There was only one instance where Cruscata actually died, and I think it was just way too fed. It was, you know, it was untouchable throughout most of the situations. It just put them in such a bad position to try to rush past that Poppy and that Renata.
Yeah, I think Deep Cross are one of those teams that really play a great protect the hyper carry. You had so many disengaged tools on their side. I mean, the Poppy to deny the Wukong. You had the Gragas barrel was huge. They used it offensively and defensively. Deep Cross Gaming is a team that I think they think so deeply about the compositions they build, and they come up with like all sorts of strategies. And when they have those plans, they execute them well more often than not. I liked the Yone pick coming out, and despite a lot of bans being thrown Nesty's way, he found a way to make it work, to just be very threatening, to draw so much more attention away from Cruscata. And they just played great. I mean, they got what they wanted. Impunity, though, did give them a fight, Clement. I don't think that was the play of a team that you would expect to be down 6 games in a row. And I really hope they stick to the roster because they played well together today.
Yeah, I actually felt like DCG, they had a pretty good showing up until the point that they lost the top lane and the bot lane at the same time. I feel like that was the turning point, and that is the magic sauce of Nesty. Because Apex was shoving his lane, you know, he felt like he was having a good time. He had the Empire Vision to help out, and then a 3v2 happens in the bot lane, and a 2v2 gets won by Nesty in the top side. Just far superior lane allocation coming in from Nesty, and we have to remember he was doing this without a teleport. He was actually just straight roaming to the side lanes and just catching DCG off guard. I feel like DCG, they need to be a little bit less greedy and more cautious about where they make plays, because they were trying to force a situation where they didn't see Nesty and they were trying to make plays on both sides of the map. Typically not a great idea to do. Yeah, impunity.
Yeah, I liked what they brought out in the draft, but I think you're right. I think they got a little bit overconfident in a few moments and didn't respect the roaming potential. Like, there are fundamentals to work on, and there's a reason impunity are down in the bottom half of the table, but that was more cohesive than I think we've seen from them in a while. And part of the reason I think is I really hope they've settled on a roster. Like, it's not shade at the rest of the players. It's just the consistency is important. You need to be able to work on things. And I think this team, they were waiting for the Korean imports to come through. Now they have some time to play with them. We'll see how it works out in future weeks, but time is going to be running out. You just need to make top 8 to make playoffs. We'll see if they can do it. Unfortunately, they suffer a 6th straight loss here today. It did look a little better, but I would like to see the improvement coming through. And man, Deep Cross with the DPS, it seems. Not a lot surprising me about that Aphelios, but how about that Yone? Almost 30k there at the end of the game.
That was really smart play from Nesty. He's just keeping the side lanes shoved out as far as possible. He was willing to pop his ults just whenever to get a good trade, to get a decent chunk. And that's the thing about Yone, it's very difficult to trade back onto him. Leaky, however, is going to get your MVP of the game here. He did a great job at keeping Cascada safe, winning his own lane, winning the 2v2s, and I believe this is the second back-to-back MVP that is going to be awarded to the Deep Cross Gaming top laner here.
I think you're right. You know, I know we talked about how he's playing a lot more tanks. Obviously, Gragas can pack some punch as well, but how about that for 28% of his team's damage on the guy that's trying to throw the barrels out? I mean, this is a team that really has players that can excel in just about every role, and I think it's a reason we're seeing them find so much success right now. Well-deserved win, as they are going to be holding on to that second place. We'll see if the other squads joining them there can match that and get wins today. We got 4 more, of course, on the board, Clement. Some exciting ones coming up.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. Coming in, Jewish team, can they continue to rise? That's a question for me today.
I mean, they've got 2 wins on the board. I think they've found ways to play around some of their deficiencies, some of their player weaknesses, some of their laning problems. I mean, it's so exciting to see this team really accelerate, because it always felt like split after split. You know, previously Alpha, then Hurricane. Now on Jewish team, they found a bit of a new identity, and they're going to be facing off against Meta Falcon team next, who I think are looking for some new identity themselves. It's going to be a good one, and somebody's going to have to walk away feeling pretty happy at the end of that.
For sure. And you know, I'm just gonna throw out my own predictions here. I feel like Jewish team is already in playoffs. I honestly believe that this team, they have really good drafting.
We'll find out right on the other side of this break. We'll be right back.